What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are back with another Q&A, this one being the Q&A for September. Now, as you guys know, I generally do the Patreon questions first to start off with, and then I'll get to the Discord questions next. However, I'm actually going to be doing a bit of a new sort of formula going forward. Obviously, I use one of the questions as, I guess, the title and the thumbnail for the video, and just to avoid like sort of clickbaiting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer that question first at the start of the video, just so that anyone who's clicked on it just for that reason, they can get that answer. Then after that, I'll answer the Patreon questions, and then after that, I'll answer the rest of the Discord questions. If you guys do want to get guaranteed answers in the Q&As, then be sure to check out the Patreon page that's linked down in the description. Or if you're not interested and you just want to ask a regular question, then be sure to join the Discord, which is also linked down below. With all of that out of the way though, guys, let's get stuck into these questions. And the first one here, which is obviously the one from the thumbnail and title, comes from Yoda Epic, and he says, do you think Hunters is going to be pay to win? Now, this is a little bit of a hard one to answer as of right now, just because obviously we don't really know too much about the game. If I did have to guess though, I honestly think that there probably will be a little bit of pay to win in there, just because one, it is a mobile game, or you know, it's on the Switch too, but it is primarily going to be a mobile game. And for some reason, mobile games always seem to have pay to win, and no one really blinks an eye for some reason. If you think back to Battlefront 2, obviously that game got completely cooked at launch because it had, you know, the little pay to win aspects, and that seems to be the general trend for like console and PC gaming, that if it has pay to win, it is just completely shrouded with like controversy, and people just absolutely hate on it, and rightly so. But for some reason, and I'm not too sure why, on mobile it's just no one cares. That every game is just riddled with pay to win for some reason, and no one really blinks an eye. And so because of that, I do think there will be maybe a little bit of pay to win in there, and also just the fact that the game is free, that does make it feel that way as well. However, with that being said, I think that maybe they would have learned something from Battlefront 2, because they've probably seen like the Star Wars community going after that pay to win sort of stuff, and surely they will have learned from that a little bit. So there's a good chance that it won't be pay to win. There is confirmed to be like microtransactions and stuff in there. However, all that we know as of right now is that's just going to be like cosmetic stuff. That's only what we've seen so far anyway, so it is kind of hard to tell. And the boring answer would be, honestly, I just have no idea whatsoever. But if I did have to guess, I unfortunately do think there might be a little bit of pay to win, but we're just going to have to see how it goes. Now, moving on to the Patreon questions, and there is just one this week, and it's actually just in the Discord anyway, and it is from Alice, and he says, what is the most humorous Star Wars moment to you? This is probably going to be a pretty boring answer, I think, but I think it's in, I can't remember if it's A New Hope or Empire, but the moment where that stormtrooper like bangs his head, and they even added like the doink sort of sound effect to it.
Take over.
To me, that has always cracked me up, because obviously there's lots of funny moments in Star Wars, but that wasn't planned, and they kind of just ran with it. So that one just kind of tickles my sense of humor a bit, and yeah, to me that is easily the funniest moment, simply just because it wasn't actually meant to happen. Now, the next question we have is from Alvin, and he says, and this is kind of in relation to the KOTOR remake, he says, what other classic Star Wars games would you want a remake of? One that comes to mind for me is Empire at War. That is a game that I played many years ago when I was a kid, and it was that kind of like a real-time strategy game, and I'm a big fan of Age of Empires. Absolutely loved those games as a kid, and so I would absolutely love to have a remake of Empire at War. Not sure how it would really go. I know they've actually done one recently. I think it was called Star Wars Commander, although it was mostly like a mobile game. But yeah, I'm not sure how a Star Wars game would go like that these days. If it was really well done, I think it would be awesome. But yeah, most of the other ones I can think of kind of have been remade, in terms of, there's a game called Star Wars Starfighters, which is one of my favorite games, and that, you know, technically hasn't been remade, but it's pretty similar to Squadron. So there's kind of been games that have been made recently that are, you know, covering most of those older games. And so yeah, for me, Empire at War is one that we really haven't seen anything similar to that in a very long time. Now, the next question comes from Falador, and he says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Star Wars Hunters, and why? Now, if you asked me this maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I probably would have said honestly like a 3 out of 10. I just thought it's a mobile game, it's not going to be that good. I knew I would probably give it a crack and see what it's like, just simply because it's Star Wars, and obviously there's not that many other things going on with the Star Wars gaming community at the moment. So I was always, you know, pretty keen on it and just gonna give it a crack, but I honestly would have said about a 3 out of 10. However, after the trailer and those little snippets of gameplay, I'm honestly at like a 9 out of 10 right now. That game actually looks like it has a a lot of potential. I think people are very quick to write it off because it is a mobile game, and I'm pretty similar, and I literally just said that earlier in the answer, but I think the fact that it is on Switch as well, and I think just looking at the gameplay that we saw, obviously it is still a little bit clunky looking, and it's not going to be the highest quality game that we've ever played, but for a mobile game and the fact that it's going to be on Switch too, I think it actually does have a lot of potential. The fact that it will be, you know, a multiplayer third-person shooter, that to me sounds like a lot of fun. It really just seems like it's going to be kind of like Overwatch, but a Star Wars version, and obviously a little bit lower quality. And so yeah, my expectations and hype for the game have absolutely risen over pretty much the last like week or two, really. I pretty much had, yeah, not that much excitement at all, and now I'm pretty much on the whole other end of it, just because the trailer especially, and then even the gameplay, they really did turn out to be a lot better than I was expecting. So yeah, overall I'd probably say a 9 out of 10. The next question is from my man Bob, and he says, what's the most cringe Star Wars moment to you? And my answer to that is everything, because Star Wars sucks, bro. But no, his actual question here is, if you were given a blank check to create any one piece of Star Wars content, so a movie or trilogy, series, book, video game, etc., what would it be about? This is a very, very straightforward and boring answer, but the answer is a resounding Battlefront 3. I don't even have to think about that one. When I first read the question, I started thinking about, okay, like, you know, a Mandalorian Red Dead 2 game, or like a new awesome trilogy or something. But when I actually sit down and properly think about it, Battlefront 3 is easily the most wanted game in my whole life. I would do literally anything for that game. I was joking the other day saying that I would literally give up a kidney, and that's like borderline, that's not even a joke. I'd borderline give up a kidney to get Battlefront 3. And so yeah, if I had a blank check to make anything from Star Wars, it would absolutely be a Battlefront 3, and I'd make sure with that blank check that I got all the support it needed, and that it was around for, you know, 5 to 10 years, make it that really long standing game. But yeah, unfortunately I don't see that happening anytime soon, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much, otherwise I'll end up getting depressed. The next question is from my man Brady, and he says, if you could bring any character from another movie/TV franchise into the Star Wars universe, who would you introduce? I had a bit of a think about this one, and this is a bit of a left of field answer, but I think I would actually say Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy. I feel like partly just because obviously those movies are kind of set in space, and you know, it has that similar aspect to it. I guess they got like the starfighter battles and stuff like that. In that sense, it kind of makes a little bit of sense, but then also just like his sense of humor, I think it would actually fit really well with Star Wars. Maybe he's a little bit too much, like you know, those movies are they're almost comedies, to be honest. So I think there's like a bit too much comedy in there for Star Wars, but I think, like, generally speaking, that type of humor is actually pretty close to what, you know, some of the best Star Wars humor has. So kind of a random answer, to be honest, because he's not like a standout character to me in Marvel, but yeah, I just feel like he would fit really well, to be honest, and bring a bit of comedy to Star Wars overall. Now, the very last question for today's video is from Star Wars Boy, and he says, who would you want the main villain of Jedi Fallen Order 2 to be? This is kind of hard to tell just because we don't know like what the story is going to be like, and we also don't know if it'll be the last one with Cal anyway. I'm sure it'll be like a series that'll go for a long time, but we don't know how long Cal's going to be around for. So if, let's just say this is the last one with Cal in it, I think it would be pretty sick to have Vader as the main villain, just because then, you know, he can maybe kill Cal, or Cal can kind of like sacrifice himself or something. Even though Vader wasn't like the main villain in Fallen Order, he obviously showed up at the end and he was like, oh, he was done so well. So I think it would be great to see him. But in saying that, part of the reason that Vader was so good was because he was literally there for like probably 3 minutes and he was just absolutely terrifying. So kind of that thing that everyone always talks about with, like, you know, in Jaws, if you could see the shark all the time, it wouldn't be as scary. I do think that's kind of similar for Vader. I think if there's too much Vader, sometimes it can kind of take away from him a little bit, whereas having him show up like at the end, pretty much what they did in Fallen Order, that can make him a lot more like intimidating. So outside of Vader, I actually think another great character to have would actually be the Grand Inquisitor. Obviously, we know there are multiple Inquisitors that are after Cal in the first one, and so having, you know, the fact that he escapes, and as far as anyone knows really, like, he could have killed Trilla. They don't actually know that Vader did that. And then I don't think the Ninth Sister is actually dead, but you know, he technically killed her as well, as far as we know. So maybe the Grand Inquisitor kind of, you know, gets annoyed that he's picking off the rest of the Inquisitors and he comes after him, I think that would be pretty cool as well. I do think for it to be sort of impactful, it needs to be a character that we already know. Like introducing new characters in the second game, I don't know if that's going to be as exciting. And so yeah, I think between Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, those would probably be my two answers. But anyway guys, that is going to do it for another monthly Q&A. Like I said at the start of the video, if you guys do want to support the channel and get those guaranteed answers for the Q&As as well as a bunch of other perks, then be sure to check out the Patreon page that's linked down below. I'm actually just about to sort of revamp that, and I'm going to be adding a lot of extra rewards and actually lowering all the prices just sort of in the lead up to Hunters. I just need to wait and see what Hunters actually offers, because I do want to sort of incorporate some Star Wars Hunters stuff into the Patreon. So honestly, I'd probably hold off on it now if you are planning on signing up and supporting the channel. But yeah, be sure to keep an eye on it because I will be revamping it quite a bit in the next couple of weeks or months. If you're not too interested in the Patreon, then like I said, be sure to join the Discord because you can obviously just ask questions in there anyway, and we have an awesome little community in there as well, so you can find that link in the description as well. I am going to get out of here though guys. If you did enjoy the video, then be sure to leave a like, and if you are new to the channel, then feel free to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
Crush them! Make them suffer!